Someone writes in to say, I saw your video on football and appreciated it greatly. Are your thoughts similar regarding boxing and mixed martial arts?
There are some similarities, but differences also. With football, there's an arbitrary goal. You're trying to get this pigskin across that line, and other people trying to prevent it. And so the contact is incidental. The contact is incidental to the goal. With boxing, and there are gradations here with all of this. With mixed martial arts or with boxing, what is the goal? Right? The goal is to hurt the other guy. Right? So there's a difference between trying to get the pigskin across the line, in which endeavor the other guy might get hurt, and trying to deliberately target the other guy getting hurt. And then I would say more problematic would be the other guy getting damaged. Right. And then after, most problematic of all would be the gladiatorial games where the other guy gets killed.
Right.
Okay. So there's obviously a spectrum here, and I think boxing with gloves is better than bare knuckle boxing because although you can have brain damage, concussions and whatnot from boxing, it's not as bad as it used to be. If with mixed martial arts, it seems to me that you're walking a line where it'd be really difficult to make a career of that without damaging a bunch of people or getting damaged.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's I don't think that's a good way to go. I think wrestling is not in the same category. It's wrestling is a test of strength on strength. It's agonistic combat, but you could wrestle for years and not come out. You're not going to be punch drunk.
Yeah, so a guy getting pinned can still get up and walk away with no damage, as opposed to a guy being KO'd.
Right. Okay. Or KO'd with a kick to the head. So basically, I think that when people want to see the mayhem, I think we're just 3 steps away from the bloodlust of the gladiatorial games. That's all on a spectrum, but I think that there are certain type of competitive sport, whether it's rugby or football or lacrosse, which is a substitute for war, and ought to be. Right. I think it's a good training ground for. It's a good way to train young men. It's a good way to train them in a way that makes them leave it all out there, and they care about it, and yet you're not feeding bloodlust.
Right. And with the boxing, is there a place where you would say this kind of training is useful and good, but there's something about the pushing it all the way to the MMA end? Right. There's some sort of gray line here.
Yes, I think so. I believe that amateur boxing is in a different category than professional boxing. Okay. So and there are forms of boxing and fighting and wrestling and stuff that I think would be a good proving ground for young men. But you want to make sure that you're training young men, not maiming young men.
A couple of things related to this then. The difference between the participating in and then being part of the audience.
Right.
There's something, if you go to a hockey game and you watch the enthusiasm for the game and then the complete just transformation of the crowd when the fight starts.
Or the fellow who went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit creepy, the weird spirit. I believe in Augustine's Confessions he describes a friend of his being drugged to a gladiatorial game and refusing to watch until he heard the cheer of the crowd, and then his eyes opened and he's just sucked into it.
Right.
There's something about being a part of that audience that seems twisted.
It really is twisted. So you'll see little clips online where it says, this NFL linebacker broke his leg in this play. The video is totally gruesome.
Right.
click here.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like when somebody always says, "This stinks. Smell it."
what kind of buzz are people getting out of watching real-time bone come out of somebody's leg?
Yeah.
There's a fascination there that I think is not healthy.